Welcome back. This is part 2 of getting started in Pro Tools for songwriters and just beginners and anyone else that just wants to learn what to do in Pro Tools. In part 1, we covered a lot of ground. We went through the entire startup window. We imported tracks, set the BPM, and even discussed busing and routing, or at least the beginning stages of busing and routing. Today, we're going to dive even deeper. We're going to start recording vocals, dive into the smart tools, record modes, among other things. So let's just get right back into it. So before we get started, I would like to swap out the track that we imported last time. I want to record to a different track. I'm going to get rid of this old track by right-clicking, scrolling down to delete, and it is a done deal. I need to reset the BPM, which is already in here. It's already written on the track. So we're at 88. And then I want to set up my auto-tune. For the sake of this series, I am going to mostly use stock plugins. The only non-stock plugin that is a non-negotiable for me is Antares. I don't like to go crazy on auto-tune, but sometimes for the sake of speed, I do like to have something. So let me use mixed in key really quick to get the key of the song. I'm just going to press listen. And just like that, we have found the key of the song. It said it was A minor. Let's get this set up the way we want it to be. I usually like to be around here. That is the only outside thing I will likely use for now. Don't quote me though. So before I dive into recording, I like to rearrange the track to better suit my writing personality, which really is just making it a little bit more minimal. So I zoom out, and you can zoom out by coming up here into the tool area and clicking the zoom tool. You can also use R or T on your keyboard. R is going to zoom you out. T is going to zoom you back in. And if you just click this tool over here, the magnifying glass pops up, and wherever you click, you're going to zoom, and if you click option, you're going to get a minus instead of a plus sign on the magnifying glass, and you can zoom out until it's a little teeny tiny ant. As I'm looking at it, you can see the most minimal part of the track is the intro, and so I'm gonna probably end up writing most of the song over that track. I just like to take away all the distractions so that I can hear my thoughts. So in order to chop it up and rearrange it, I come over to the smart tools. And so to activate the smart tools, they're right here in this edit bar. Let me click out of it so you can see. There is a bracket that goes over these 3 main tools. And honestly, these are the 3 tools other than Zoom that I use majority of the time. So in order to activate smart tools, you click the bracket and you'll see it's covered all 3. If you don't want smart tool activated, you can just click out and individually select whatever you want. But most of the time I have smart tools activated just because it's annoying to keep going back up and changing tools. The 3 smart tools consist of the trim tool, the selector tool, and the grabber tool. And this is great for rearranging your vocals, rearranging the tracks, just basically getting into the nitty-gritty of editing your vocals. I love it. It allows you to just get real surgical. So now I'm going to show you the smart tools in action, and we're going to rearrange this track. I want the intro to be repeated multiple times. So as you can see, as I'm starting to hover over it, the selector tool is already starting to pop up. If you go down to the bottom, the grabber tool is going to pop up. And then if you come over to this edge, any edge of an audio track, you'll see the trimmer tool, and it'll allow you to change the length of the track, or, you know, whatever you need to do. Something I forgot to mention, in the smart tools area, you'll see that the trim tool and the grabber tool have a teeny tiny little arrow underneath it, which basically means if you right click it, it's going to give you a couple more options to toy around with to make the tool even more customized to your taste and to whatever it is you're working on. I actually leave the trim tool in like normal standard mode, but I do like to switch the grabber tool over to separation. So basically means any selection that I make You see now the grabber tool has scissors kind of on top of it. It's really teeny tiny, but it now has scissors over the hand. So that means whatever I select can break apart without me having to do all kinds of rocket science to make it break apart. If you don't have separation mode on and you just for some reason don't like it, you can break it apart by pressing Command E. So now you'll see there's a line going in between, and now this trim tool is popping up on both sides, the left side and the right side. I'm gonna Command Z. If you ever wanna undo something that you did, just press Command Z. Okay, so we Command Z, and now that line I created, the separation I created no longer exists, but you can see my hand tool still has the scissors over it. So another way to go about it, rather than having to press Command E, is to just move it. And now you'll see the intro is somewhere else and it broke off from this track. I'm gonna Command Z that. I just love that. And as you're starting to like comp your vocals and just fly things across and repeating things, it makes it so much easier to just break it apart by dragging it, and you don't even have to think. But all that being said, I'm just gonna take this chunk of the intro, it's like this first 4 bars, I'm gonna press Option on my keyboard, and I'm just gonna repeat this intro a few times so that I can have a minimal scratch track, just kind of real quick. And that's how I'll structure my first verse, and that's also just some fun facts for you. We're almost ready to start recording. There's just a couple more things I think you should know before we jump right into it. First, we need to go up to the options menu, and I will share with you the ones I think are awesome, especially if you are coming from like a songwriter, indie artist point of view and you're gonna be recording yourself at home. So open up options, scroll down to loop playback. I personally love to have this on. If you're writing a song and you need a second to keep, and you want to hear a specific section over and over again, like the intro or the verse section or the hook section, whatever part you're writing on, loop playback is going to allow you to literally loop the playback. And I think it's just very conducive to songwriting. So I love to have that on. And sometimes it's also helpful if you're editing your vocals and you just need to hear it again, or if you just want to hear a lyric again or a mistake or whatever. Loop playback is key. Some people might like pre and post roll. You can also turn that on over here in this transport area, pre post roll, but if for some reason you want to come up in the options window, you can. So pre and post roll basically just means the amount of time you want the song to play before the actual point that you clicked at, if that makes any sense. I can show you better than I can tell you. So as you can see, I clicked right here in bar number 9, which means I really want the song to start at bar number 9. But as you can see up here, I have pre-roll highlighted and I moved it to 8 bars. So that means it's gonna literally play 8 bars prior to the point in which I wanted it to start. And I think sometimes that is helpful in the action of recording, but sometimes if you're literally just listening back or mixing, to me it's irritating. So a lot of times I do just keep pre-roll off, and post-roll is the exact opposite. It's basically going to keep playing past a certain point instead of before. I don't really like it on, but I know a lot of people who use it. Scrolling on down, moving on, I think it's great to have link timeline and edit selection, link track and edit selection, and insertion follows playback. Without these on, I think you might become a little frustrated just as you're trying to listen back to things. Linking the timeline and the edit selection basically means wherever the playhead is, your selection and the playhead will move together. So right now it's not on, and you can see that the playhead is over here by number 5. And I'm clicking and all of these things, and the playhead is not following. So if I'm clicking over here by bar 21 and 22, and that's what I want to hear, but the playhead's all the way over there, that means the playhead's going to start at bar 5, which in my head, that's annoying. And so I just feel like, let's remove all of the friction points and turn this on. So we're going to link the timeline and edit selection so that the playhead follows wherever I'm clicking in that moment. Because when you get into the zone, these are things that, you know, might drive you crazy. So same thing with linking the track and edit selection, not just the playhead. We're talking about the track that's actually highlighted. highlighted. So if I go back into options and I turn that off, you'll see right now the instrumental and my edit selection are matching. But if I come down here and I click lead, and then I click back on my instrumental track like this, the highlight is not following what I'm doing. So I just want all of the things I'm clicking on to be talking to each other and to know that this is where our focus is on. So we're gonna link the track and the edit selection. Next, I'm gonna turn on insertion follows playback. That essentially just means wherever the song stops playing is where my cursor is going to be. This could be something that you may not want, but I just find I do tend to like it this way, and I haven't wanted to come up and change that. As of right now, I think that these are the most important things to focus on. I don't see anything else that we need to necessarily talk about today before we start recording, but I just think that's going to make your workflow simpler. You don't know what a click track is. It's basically just turning on the metronome. So here we go. You're gonna have to go back up to tracks and create click track. My click track came up, it's green. Let's just make it like a different color so we can see it. And it automatically comes with this little clicky thingy on there. And I created my own preset in the click track because I always change the way the sounds make. If you want to know how to do that, we can certainly go over how that is done. But yeah, this is mine. I call it the shaker. And I turn it down a lot because it's kind of annoying. Turn it down even more. Yeah. I'm also getting hungry, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna call it a night. So I'll be back to dive back into the song and get crazy. And hopefully by then I've thought of some lyrics the next time you see me. That would be great. Okay, so I'm back. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new everything. I spent some time last night tinkering around with the stock plugins that we had already put on our buses, and I wasn't in love with it, so I wanted to just kind of like find a better fit. So I did. I kept the EQ, but I switched it out for a 7-band instead of the single. Let me show you what I'm talking about. There's an option when you go to Avid that says EQ3 1-band and EQ3 7-band, and I chose the 7-band just because it gives you a little bit more flexibility and the option to get a little more detailed with your edits. I added this, I turned off some of these bands, but I did keep on the high pass frequency to allow me to cut out some of the low end that's just unnecessary, especially for my vocals. I cut all the way to 142. Sometimes I go further. It just depends on like the vibe that I'm going through and how my vocals are sounding that day. So we have this high pass filter here, and then this like low mid situation where I cut out 387 just because it tends to be like boxy. There's like a sound there I just don't like, at least on my mic and my vocals. I boosted a teeny tiny hair at 2.45 kilohertz is what it says, and then I boosted at 14.19 kilohertz, or like 14,000 kilohertz, to give me some of that air. I wasn't really like doing anything mixing. This is pretty close to how my template is, but also just I was also going off what I was hearing with these different plugins. The Pro Compressor, I think I already had this on here. I just made some slight different changes to the settings. If you have no idea what you're doing, you could either copy these settings or go to the presets and just pick one and see which is sounding best for you. I liked this better than the preset for me. I kept the de-esser the same. I just pushed the frequency that it was affecting up to 8.8 kilohertz. And then I added a channel strip, and I made some slight changes and like another little cut. There is a little bit of latency that is somewhat annoying. I'm not sure what plugin is causing it or if something in my system is causing it, but it's not the end of the world. I was still able to record my melodies. And speaking of melodies, I wanted to have something for us to play with today. So I recorded melodies and I wrote a verse. I'm just gonna record the lead vocals of the verse today, bit by bit. We're gonna playlist the options of each take that I do. So like a small section of the lead vocals, we're gonna do like 3 takes of that and I'll playlist it. And then I will briefly show you how to comp your own vocals through a playlist. And I'll also show you how I comp vocals without playlisting. Sometimes I'll just don't use playlists. It just depends on the mood and the speed and the vibe.
Passenger side of your car, somewhere on the interstate. Passenger side of your car, somewhere on the interstate. Passenger side of your car, somewhere on the interstate. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. I see what we could be.
So sometimes when I'm doing like a background kind of thing, I don't playlist it. I just drag it down to the tracks that I want it to be at and I double it.
Let's go away. See what we don't let it go away.
We're just going to focus on the leads today, and then in our next video we'll get into the pre-hook or the hook, whatever section that is next. We'll get into stacking vocals and doubles and backgrounds and all of that fun stuff, but I just want to kind of keep it simple and digestible for you. Okay, so let's take a look at all of our takes that we just saved into our playlist. In order to save a take into the playlist, we're just pressing Control and this like slashy thing. I'll put it up on the screen so it's not confusing. So the playlists are being saved in my record track up here. You can see it now says record.14, but when we had initially started, it said record.01 or something like that, or record and nothing else. So that just lets you know like how many takes are existing in there. And there's multiple ways to find all the takes that you're looking for. The first thing I'm gonna do is probably mute my lead vocal, just because I don't want to hear it. I want to hear these additional takes that I have. So you can come over to your track and click playlists, and that will show you all the takes that we have stored away for another day to be able to comp our vocals. If you don't know what comping is, just a quick little debrief. Basically, comping is just like piecing together your vocals out of multiple takes, kind of like a collage, if you will, until you get the ideal take that you've been looking for. But here you go. This is our treasure trove of takes that we can choose from and, you know, make awesome. Actually, before I even dive into those, I'm gonna go back over here, click waveform again. I'm gonna put my headphones on. The lead vocals that you're seeing up here are the ones that I kind of pulled out that I thought, oh, I might like that, but it doesn't mean they're perfect. So, okay, let's go to this first chunk and listen.
Passenger side of your car, somewhere on the interstate. Passenger side of your car, somewhere on the interstate.
I actually like that, and I don't think it's necessary for me to go through those first tracks because I didn't really like many of the other takes. So let's go to the next line.
Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade.
I actually don't hate it, but we're gonna go back into playlist, so we're just gonna click over here. There's definitely a bunch of key commands and shortcuts, which we can get into, or maybe I'll flash them on the screen to like make your life easier. But honestly, sometimes I just go this way. I think it's like an engineer vibe to have all the shortcuts just like listed in your mind somewhere. I do use shortcuts, but sometimes I just click because I'm not in a session like trying to be quick and timely recording an artist. You know what I mean? It's just me. So there's like no need to be rushing and like doing all these key commands. So we're back in the playlist area and we're just gonna go to that second bit, which should be right here. In order to hear it, we're gonna click solo.
Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade.
So I like this third take. I'm just gonna fly the whole thing up to the top. And if you want to do that, all you have to do is press this little arrow up here. There's also a key command for that. I'll flash it on the screen because I forgot it. There we go. So now this third take is up at the top, and honestly you could comp right from the playlist area, but I already I already saved a take that I like on the main page, so we're just going to go back to the waveform, and now we're back here, and this was the original take that I said I liked, but the ending was in question for me. So you could do this in the playlist form like I said, but I'm doing this my own way. I'm going rogue because I already saved a version I like, and I just kind of want to fix a piece of it. So let's listen to this ending piece, because I felt like the timing was weird, and it could be a cool stylistic thing, but I haven't decided yet.
Way too easy, everything else starts to fade. Way too easy, everything else starts to fade. I've been here, everything else starts to fade. Everything else starts. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. I've been here before. Conversations way too easy, everything else starts to fade. I've been here before.
So we move this back up to the record track in its rightful place, and we're going to come back to record and click playlists, and now here we are. Did I not save any of these? What's going on down here?
I've been here before.
Okay, so I lied. So I only did one take of that, which is shocking for me. Shocking. So I must have been really feeling myself, and I obviously wasn't feeling this one over here because I did it 10,000 times. So, okay, I'm going to break this track by pressing Command E, and let's listen to it.
On the other hand, it'd be a shame to see this go away.
I'm not mad at this one either. I'm moving that up to the top so that we can comp it from the playlist. I heard one little thing where my notes were catching, so we're going to go to playlists, and we're going to listen to our options.
On the other hand, it'd be a shame to see this go away. Be a shame to see this go away. Be a shame to see this go away.
Okay, I want to fix that little, I don't like that, how that sounds. So let's find a better one. I think this one was nice.
On the other hand, it'd be a shame to see this go away.
I do think this C is a little too early, so let's push it back and see if that makes a difference.
Shame to see this go away. Shame to see this go away. Shame to see, shame to see, shame to see, shame to see.
Okay, so the first C that I picked, the timing was weird, and even when I was nudging it forward and nudging it backward, it still wasn't working, and I didn't feel like having to do a whole thing, so I just went to one of the other takes and found a better option. And something I just wanted to make sure I was making clear is the way I'm getting it up to the top is I'm highlighting exactly what I want to be in the take, and then I'm pressing this arrow up here. So if you want a specific part up top, click the arrow thingy, and there you go. It's up here. So now we're making sure none of these tracks are soloed, and we're going to listen to what we've got.
On the other hand, it'd be a shame to see this go away.
And I'm using my smart tool to kind of tidy it up a little bit. When you come to the bottom, you see the fade tool is coming. There it is. And you can kind of like marry them together a little better.
Shame to see this go away.
I like that. So now I'm going to drag this back to where it belongs.
On the other hand, it'd be a shame to see this go away.
I think we did a lot today. I concerned this video was going to be like 75 minutes long. The funny thing is I've been trying to make them like short. And then as I get into them, I'm like, this is not going to be a short video. But anyways, yeah, we did a lot today to the point where I don't even remember, but at least we got into recording. I just wanted to kind of show you my natural workflow. As a songwriter, as a recording artist, you can completely learn this and do this at home yourself. I hope this is helpful. If there is something that you haven't seen on that I've been talking about, I'm sorry, that made zero sense. If I glossed over something or didn't go into enough detail, or if there's something else you would specifically like to see me talk about, comment below and let me know. So until next time, peace out.